The tampon king gets back in the ring. I speak of former VP nominee Tim Walz. He joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DNI.
But I'm thinking there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month.
What do you get when a smug TV host runs headfirst into a governor who looks like he's still pacing a Target parking lot, trying to remember where he left his SUV? You get Greg Gutfeld plowing straight through Tim Walz's reputation like it's a soggy cardboard billboard in a hurricane. From bungled decisions to cringe political acting, Gutfeld turns Minnesota's leadership into a slapstick routine that plays out more like a laughing-gas demolition derby than a debate. Don't blink. This roast hits hotter than Walz's frost-bitten approval ratings, and each punchline lands harder than the last.
Tim Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank in service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign. When reached for comment, Walz yelled, "Hey, look over there," and then ran away. Although Walz's actions look bad to veterans, Dems say these revelations could really help him win the coward vote.
Tim Walz. If political leadership were a giant buffet, he'd be the sad, flavorless mashed potatoes everyone ignores but somehow still ends up scooped onto someone's plate. Pointless, lukewarm, and just there. Then walks in Greg Gutfeld, swinging sarcasm like a chainsaw wired to an overcharged generator inside a fireworks warehouse, shredding Walz's flops with the intensity of a comedian locked in turbo mode.
Exploited his military background to cover up his crime. He said it was related to his service and that he actually wasn't drunk. He just misheard the instructions in the drunk test. He blew a super high level. It was like, 0.2, driving 100 miles an hour. And then when he's running for office, he said that he wasn't drunk. I mean, this guy has creep written all over it. He created a snitch line, but lies about his personal infractions. He doesn't even own up to it. This is a guy who pushes a hoax about a sex on a couch. And then the closer you look at him, he's a creepy cuck.
This doesn't even resemble governance anymore. It's dollar store performance art, just without any charm. More like finger painting with expired ranch dressing. A slocky mess you'll remember even when you desperately don't want to. If this teardown is real yen, hit that subscribe button and buckle up, because watching Walz run Minnesota feels like watching a substitute teacher try to wrangle a classroom full of raccoons hopped up on cold brew.
Saw just recently Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote.
Wait, so Trump is making it more difficult for women to vote? How so? Math problems? But it's further proof that the most dangerous thing for a leftist is a follow-up question, which is why you never hear any. But I guess questioning elections is okay now. But the best moment came when Walz forgot who he is.
He talks like someone who skimmed Leadership for Dummies once and decided that was enough knowledge to run an entire state. And the results will only look fine if the goal was transforming the land of 10,000 lakes into the land of 10,000 fiascos. Gutfeld barely had to lift a finger. Roasting Walz is like dunking on someone who shows up to a professional interview wearing Crocs and an eye mask. Walz walked onto that debate stage armed with nothing but a squeaky kazoo and a whiteboard that said feelings, genuinely believing that was enough to win on national TV.
Walz is a strange.
Oh, he's strange.
He is great. Him and I are the same age. How does he look so much younger?
No, he's a strange guy.
Strange.
You know, he called up years ago. I was in the White House, and he said, my house is being surrounded by people with American flags. I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He said, I think they're going to attack me. But this was during the riots and everything else. They were MAGA people. You know, they like the American flag, all right? And they also had Trump. And I said, how do you know? There were about 15,000, He said, could you put out a word like that I'm your friend? I don't even know him, but that's the only time I ever spoke to him. And if you look back long ago, tweets before Truth hit, tweets, long ago, I put out a statement. He's a good man, the governor. He's on our side. I didn't know him, but I didn't want him to get hurt. And everybody put down their flags and they left. He said it was America. He said it was America.
He practically begged for the roasting, delivering Gutfeld the setup on a silver platter, and whispered, "Go ahead, finish the job." At this point, it didn't even resemble satire anymore. It felt like a sarcasm tournament where Walz arrived wielding glitter glue and a participation ribbon. Starting with the economy, Walz saw a rise in prices, shaky jobs, and businesses fleeing the state, and decided the fix was, apparently, more taxes. Taxed air, smiles, made even charge a fee for considering moving to Wisconsin. Companies are bolting out of Minnesota like it's a haunted house made out of climate regulations and never-ending social justice PowerPoints. Gutfeld pounced on Walz's economic strategies like a raccoon tearing into an overloaded garbage bin. He practically yelled, "How do you make California look like a capitalist paradise?"
On the same bad cocaine, but Kamala can't speak, he can't speak, Biden was so high he couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show. And I said this in the pod. He's a clown without a circus. He's He's roaming the terrain. Is there some carnival that I can work for? Yeah. I'll wash your windows.
He's a rogue clown.
Yes.
Who is just an inconsequential footnote to vice presidential history.
Yes.
No one will remember his name on trivia night, and that's going to be in 3 months from.
Nobody's remembering his name on trivia night. Give it 3 months. Moving to crime, even worse. Walz handles public safety like a toddler with a pack of matches. Hopeful, clueless, and destined to end in sirens. His big plan: blame society, hold hands, and pray to criminals chill out after some interpretive dance. Like handing out lavender candles in a burning house. Meanwhile, Gutfeld turns the crime stats into pure comedy, practically waving a Minnesota map labeled "Carjackings live here" across the Twin Cities. He compared Walz's crime strategy to a mall cop trying to halt a riot using a kazoo and a clipboard, doomed before it began. If Walz ran national security, people would be downloading Russian lessons by Friday. And then came education, a glitter-coated dumpster fire. Walz, a former teacher, somehow turned classrooms into workshops for endless woke word salad instead of learning. Forget math and science. Now kids are graded on who can spot a microaggression faster and who can build the most soothing safe space out of popsicle sticks.
I'm especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
Dude. You're an old white guy. And you're right, you are a huge disappointment. I guess hating himself is the first thing he's nailed correctly. Because Walz saying old white men suck isn't a political stance, it's his confession. Walz calling people old and white is like Maxine Waters making fun of someone for shopping at Wigs R Us. He wants to execute more DEI policies, and Trump wants to execute murderous gang members. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see the...
Gutfeld didn't just poke fun. He unloaded the full arsenal, saying the only test students pass anymore is Offended 101. Under Wall, schools feel less like learning institutions and more like theaters for bad improv routines where detention is replaced by participation trophies and TikTok therapy hours. And then we reach COVID, its own circus. Walz treated the pandemic like an audition for America's next top authoritarian, tossing out shutdown orders like consent, close bars, fine churches, punish small businesses, but protests, suddenly they were sacred, as if the virus had political preferences. Apparently, it avoided gatherings with the right slogans. Gutfeld tore into hypocrisy, noting how Walz shut down Grandma's bingo night, but threw the doors wide open for demonstrations as long as someone brought a Marxist chat and a papier-mâché puppet. That wasn't public health, it was clipboard theater.
Meanwhile, Kamala's VP, Tim Walz, is being accused of lying about his rank, which is called stolen valor. But in Walz's defense in Minneapolis, stealing is legal. But misrepresenting your past for political gain? I don't see that as a problem, said one woman.
Then came the budget surplus, a mountain of extra money even Walz couldn't ignore. Instead of returning it to the taxpayers who produced it, he tore through it like monopoly bills at a government yard sale, stacking on more bureaucracy, more diversity gurus, and maybe even a taxpayer-funded mural of himself gazing heroically into nowhere. Gutfeld nearly fell over laughing from the absurdity. He joked Walz burning from what surplus is like handing a toddler your credit card and saying, be responsible. Sure, Tim, because obviously the Department of Overregulation desperately needed a Lux espresso machine and an executive yoga retreat for equity alignment. In Walz's Minnesota, red tape is a full-contact sport. You can't run a lemonade stand without 14 permits, a background check, and a pronoun declaration. It's a Soviet bureaucracy with worse decor. Gutfeld portrayed Walz as slithering through policy, made it seem like the governor was auditioning for bureaucratic gymnastics, each move more bizarre than the last. Every new rule sounded stranger than the previous one. And then there's his strange admiration for Gavin Newsom, clinging to California's governor like a starry-eyed fan determining to transform Minneapolis into San Francisco's frostbitten, clumsier sibling.
As that Walz lost, but one of them, Politico says, is like Walz's wide eyes showed his passion and emotional intensity. Can we show that? There is wide eye. That humans would widen their eyes to convey that danger is close. What emotion are you getting from that?
Sorry, still. That was every.
Tim Walz vomits more nonsense.
Interview 11. Brilliant thinking, Tim. Toss common sense aside and dump billions on Elon Musk fan fiction on rails. Nothing screams fiscalism like a bullet train to nowhere, slower than the DMV, and about as usual as the solar-powered flashlight in a blizzard. After that, Walz's media appearances spiraled into their own slow-motion catastrophe. Picture a man performing the role of competent leader while speaking with the clarity of a dial-up modem drowning in molasses. He wanders in circles like a GPS stuck on rerouting, while his staff flashes cue cards off stage, begging him to make one coherent point. Gutfeld tore the whole Sing spectacle show down like a poet who should have drunk to open mic night. Watching Walz explain policy felt like watching a raccoon attempt Morse code with oven mitts. Chaotic, baffling, and somehow convinced it succeeded. And one pressurizes, he doesn't pivot. He pirouettes like a ballerina running on cold brew and long-form Atlantic articles. Ask him about crime skyrocketing, and somehow he's rambling about bike lanes curing felonies. Bring up an economy circling the drain, and he launches into a sermon about gender-neutral parking lots and the emotional trauma of asphalt. This isn't governance. This is interpretive policy, dear, with 10 talk lighting and ukulele energy. Gutfeld tore it all down, calling Walz a magic 8-ball on orthopedic shoes. Say come and you get some vague jargon about intersectional frameworks or equity horticulture. And then there his branding. Walz poses as a farm dad everyman, but his idea of roughing it is drinking almond milk without a biodegradable straw. He's the guy who shows up to a tailgate with kombucha, asking if the brisket is cruelty-free. Gutfeld delivered the Kelschnot. Walz is about as folksy as tofu at a monster truck rally. Rural Minnesota is desperate for a leader who understands their world. Tractors, real labor, maybe a church potluck. Instead, they got Tim Walz, a guy who thinks Greater Minnesota begins with a bike lanes and the kombucha bar closes. This isn't leadership, it's lifestyle branding with lots of hashtags. He governs like he's streaming a TED-Talk title, bureaucracy with empathy. Gutfeld's final blow. He ground Walz like Kia governor, comes with missing screws, arrives uninstalled, and leaves you crying over the wobbly result.
So the tone of the media was one of sadness, not reporting Walz's loss, but mourning it. Now, the truth is that a VP debate is like a colonoscopy. It's important and necessary, but that doesn't mean you want to watch it.
Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Even a deer in the headlights is screaming, "Get the out of the way, dude!" It's no wonder they don't do follow-up questions with Democrats. They're like the top layer of day-old skimpy bean dip. What's underneath, you don't want to see.
I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Maybe it's adult like Donald Trump. You bully the out of him back. This is a weak, cruel man that takes it out and punches down on people.
Wow. Oh. Jamie.
What a
Painful,
douchebag,
huh?
Greg. That was absolutely painful. He was the keynote speaker at this conference. Can you imagine having to watch more of that?
I want to see this in slow motion. You'll see Walz extends his hand to his wife. She grabs it. They shake. He pulls her close and then goes in for that non-friction hug, all the while still shaking her hand. I wish there was a word to describe that. Oh, yeah, weird. I've seen warmer embraces between Chris